Getting ready for our lunch. We always have a great lunch here at Pee Wee's with the Optimist Club. Kim Moser happens to be our speaker today, and wonderful young lady. Her husband, Dr. Neil Moser, happens to be my pulmonologist also, and her father, Dr. Floyd Poore, who I worked for in Frankfurt when I was Commissioner of Motor Vehicles. Worked for him and Martha Lane Collins, Deputy Secretary of Transportation. They did a great job. It's great to be here with Kim, and I wish her well in her election. She's my representative out in southern Kenton County.
Oh, this time he had a cell phone in his hand, trying to focus.
Who would like to say for yeah. Are we ready back there?
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this meeting of the Optimists. Dear Lord, we ask that you bless this meeting, bless the food that will be before us today to the nourishment of our bodies and our bodies to your service. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Promise yourself. Promise yourself.
You can deserve peace of mind. Health, happiness, and prosperity to every person in need. To God, there's something in them. Look at the side of everything and make your optimism come true. To take all the best, to work on the best, and to expect all the best. To be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are not your own. To make mistakes in the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. Where brothers will kindness at all times, give your everything creature peace of mind. Give so much time to prove yourself that you have no time to criticize others. To too large to worry, to know for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy with the presence of trouble.
Join me in the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Okay, before we get around to the business of the day, are there anyone with any announcements to make?
Yes, I do have two. These aren't really engrossing announcements, but they're announcements. So you might want to give me your undivided attention for just a moment. Especially you, Jerry, because I don't have my Jerry box in front of me. Can you hear me over there? Okay, there are two matters I would like to bring to your attention. One, Jan was kind enough to prepare a nice file box to put hygiene products in that we can give to Homeward Bound. So far, the only products that are in there are the ones that Jan put in there. I have been advised by our distinguished president, who was researching the idea of P&G putting together a package for this. He has just informed me that they're not going to do that. So, if you can stop by everything's a dollar store and pick up some hygiene products, preferably for minorities, black people. I wasn't aware until Jan brought it up that their hair
PPO.
Or what?
hair care.
Their hair care products are different because of their hair. Now, if you don't have time to stop in, throw a buck my way, or $1.25. I'll pick it up for you. But try to get something in here by next week. Next week is the deadline.
Can I add to that?
Yes, you can add to it right now.
So half of the Family Dollar stores and half of the Dollar Tree stores in Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati are going out of business. And those stores are having a half off sale. So they're not only $1 now, they're 50 cents. So go to the dollar stores and get 50% off, and you're doubling your money but that's only about half of them. The one I go to in Erlanger is not part of that deal. So you have to find the ones that are 50% off. Go to them and you'll get 50% off your purchase.
Well, Dan, if you want, I'll write you a note so we can get into some of the other.
And your dollar goes twice as far.
Your dollar goes twice as far.
By golly, that's right. The man, oh, that is correct. The other thing is Gary Lynn and Coco are planning something with TBMK for a presentation. We need, what we need to have is some questions to put on this presentation so we can make it, you know, anytime they have an interview like that, they have to have prepared questions. So I'd like to have some questions. They'll give them to me right now, you can wait 10 minutes, but just some questions.
Questions?
And that draws me to the conclusion of my speech.
Thank you for concluding, I appreciate it very much. Now, Jane, would you please introduce Kim for me, please?
Okay, welcome my Optimist friends. My name is Janine Felsmith. I'm past president, currently the secretary and project director of the Optimists of Stephenson. We meet every Wednesday at 12 noon at Pee Wee's Place at 2325 Anderson Road in Crescent Springs. For our TBMK viewers, today is April the 24th, 2024. Today's presentation is videoed and rebroadcast on Spectrum, channel 203, Cincinnati Bell Alta Fiber, channel 815, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Well, I've already said that, they will be rebroadcast on telecommunication broadcast in Kentucky at 8 p.m., if I'm repeating myself. But please go to TBNK On Demand, the Facebook page of the Optimist and of Covington. And I want to thank James Morlock. He is our program director, editor, camera of TBNK. He makes our rebroadcast possible. Thank you, James. Today I have the honor and privilege to introduce Kim Moser. She is a representative in the primary for the 64th district. She is an incumbent. I have wanted here, she has almost a whole telephone book full of what this lady has been able to do. Representative Kimberly Moser has served conservative terms in the Kentucky General Assembly in the 64th district since being elected in 2016. She serves as chairman of the House of Health Services Committee, which has jurisdiction over matters related to the delivery of all health services and child welfare. She also served as a member of the Elections and Constitutional Amendments Judiciary and the Transportation Committee. Representative Moser she really has gained national recognition for dedication to enacting common sense solutions and comprehensive policies. Just a few examples of more than 40 pieces of legislation which she has championed includes prohibiting the use of tobacco products, including e-cigarettes on school property, the Mental Health Parity Act, Addiction and Reentry System Reforms, Department of Public Health Transformation, statewide, and a system of navigation to improve and access to health care throughout the community of healthcare workers. Biomarkers, testing, and the Lung Cancer Screening Act, which has been moved Kentucky to be number 2 in the nation of early detection of lung cancer. Thank you, my father passed away because of lung cancer research. Mostly her Maternal Health Care Act to support mothers and babies have passed and has been signed into law. She has addressed the health care and worker shortages in many ways and established a Kentucky Center for Cannabis Research. Moser is tirelessly advocate for health care and criminal justice reform. through systematic changes. In addition to her legislative duties, she serves as chair of the American Legislative Exchange Council's National Criminal Justice Task Force, and mind you, quite a few others I'm going to skip over. Representative Moser worked for 18 years at several children's hospitals as a neonatal intensive care and flight nurse. Flight nurse, that's kind of interesting. She is the founding director of the Northern Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy, where she served as executive director. She has served as the national president of the American Medical Association Alliance and president of the Kentucky Medical Association Alliance. She has received numerous awards and recognition for her community and legislative work. She earned her BS from Spalding University and completed graduate work in architecture at the University of Kentucky. Architecture, too, that's quite interesting. Moser and her husband, Neil, he's a pulmonologist and a critical care physician, has been married for 39 years, and reside in Taylor Mill. They have 5 sons, 3 grandchildren, with a 4th joining their family this fall. The Mosers are avid travelers, hikers, submitting, like at Kilimanjaro. Yeah, somebody, thank you so much. Kilimanjaro and hiking up to Mount Everest. May I introduce Kim Moser? Thank you.
Did you actually climb Mount Everest?
We hiked to base camp, so it was 17,617.
That's far enough.
Yeah, well, I will say, when I got to the base camp, I said, anyone who goes higher is crazy. It was hard work. Can you all hear me okay? Do you want me to do this?
Yeah,
Okay,
just
okay.
turn to 8 and 7/8.
8 and 7/8. Are we good? Well, thank you so much, Janine, for that warm welcome. Thank you all for having me today. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Thanks to TVNK for filming this and making sure that our community gets to hear from their elected leaders and candidates. I think it's very important. I want to start just by saying how grateful I am. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to serve where I serve as your state representative. Just being able to think through the issues that we have, talk to my constituents, really find solutions for problems that we hear a lot about. It really is indeed an honor to do that. So, and I'm also very honored to have had everyone's trust and support over the past 8 years. Hopefully I can continue having everyone's support. As most of you know, I work hard to not only protect your rights, but I do look for solutions. I am known for, as Janine said in my bio, convening stakeholders and really making sure that we're working with everyone who has either expertise in a field or in an area. When I'm working on projects, it really does become a stakeholder convening, and I really appreciate working that way. I think that we get better solutions to some of the complex problems that we're working on. And in Kentucky, and especially in healthcare, I chair the Health Services Committee, as Janine said. We have some very complex problems, and it really takes a lot to understand all of those problems. There are federal regulations that we need to pay attention to. There are state regulations. There are things on a local level that we need to pay attention to. So I really pride myself on making sure that I'm inclusive. I'm accessible and I'm responsive to my constituents, as I think most all of my constituents would say. I answer emails, I answer texts, I answer phone calls. I talk to Janine quite often. And so I even worked with my opponent for several years on some of her issues. So I am very responsive. I am a Christian. I am the mother of 5 sons, as you said, and I do pride myself on being a survivor of 5 teenage boys in my house at one point, and they are all really nice people. I really like them as people. Of course, I love them because they're my sons, but they are nice people. They are law-abiding citizens. They are great contributors, and they are all great fathers and husbands. So, well, 4 of them. We're still looking for the perfect wife. So, I've been married for 40 years. We have 3 grandchildren and our 4th on the way, so we're very excited about that. And as a retired neonatal and intensive care and flight nurse, I really have spent my entire adult life just caring for children and families. It's what I have always done. As the oldest of 6 children, I think I even did it as a kid. So when I was drug policy director, I cared for individuals and families who were stuck in that cycle of addiction and all the devastation that we see coming with it. And I worked really hard to implement some resources, some really good resources here in Northern Kentucky for that. We put treatment in jail. We brought HIDA, the high intensity drug trafficking area, to Northern Kentucky. I could go on and on. We brought quick response teams. We worked with the sheriff's office. I worked with the drug strike force, and I've done a whole presentation on that, so I won't go into that. My state and national leadership experience really informs what I do on a state level. Like I said, there are sometimes federal restrictions that we have to know about to these complex system changes. And again, I just believe in building great partnerships. I think we get better policy when we work together, when we build those relationships, and I love doing research. I'm very data-driven, and I love solving problems. Probably why I was a nurse and just caring for people, and then the whole architecture thing. I think my brain just works in solving problems and maybe looking at infrastructure. I think we need more transparency in our legislative process. I think that we should vote on one bill at a time and require that we receive a bill in advance of its coming to the floor for a vote. Probably some of you have heard about the semi-controversial bill, House Bill 470 last year. And so this is an example. This is the transgender bill that you heard so much about. So I support the concept of codifying medical standards, which is no surgery under 18 and no cross-sex hormones. But I want to make sure that individuals get the mental health treatment that they need. It's critical. And so I had actually drafted legislation that did just that. It was 2/3 of a page long. I worked with many of my colleagues on this, and instead they filed a bill that went way further than we needed to. It took away mental health treatment. It imposed criminal penalties on a list of about 30 healthcare providers, teachers, you name it. It was unnecessary, and so that was a bill that I voted against because I knew I was going to work on it in the Senate and improve it. All of my colleagues know that I am very detail oriented. I will fix things, or at least try to. And if I can't, I'll be vocal about what I think is wrong. I felt like there were some unintended consequences coming from that if we didn't fix it. And so that's what I did. It did get fixed in the Senate, but when it came back to the House, instead of concurring in the House like we do with changes that are made in the Senate, which is the final process in passing a bill, it was hurriedly meshed together with 2 other bills in Senate Bill 150. I supported all 3 bills, as it turns out, but I didn't know what was in that bill when it came over. It went to the Education Committee in an emergency meeting, and 6 minutes later it was on the House floor, and not one person had a copy of the bill when they voted on it. I said, I cannot vote on a bill I haven't read. You know, as we've heard repeatedly from our own congressman, we need to read the bill. And so that was my issue with it, not the content. I want to protect children. I want to make sure we do it right though. I am 100% pro-life. I am pro-Second Amendment. I am fiscally conservative. I have earned the full trust and endorsement of the Kentucky Right to Life, the National Rifle Association, and I align with the NRA on safety and training and gun rights. I have received the endorsement from the Kentucky Chamber and have done a lot to bring business-friendly policies since we have taken over the majority in the House. And very happily, I can announce that I had a 100% rating as of last night with the Americans for Prosperity organization, so I'm happy about that. I was first elected, as Janine said, in 2016 when President Trump helped us overturn the majority from Democrat to Republican in the House for the first time in 95 years. Since then, I'm proud to have been a part of moving Kentucky forward, especially economically. We have put, as I mentioned, some really business-friendly policies in place. We have lowered taxes, putting more money back in the pockets of all of us as taxpayers, but we've also attracted some businesses to Kentucky. We passed right to work and prevailing wage, and we have been so successful that in northern Kentucky, we are now a national distribution hub. That is so good for our region, I have to tell you. To have this notoriety and to be recognized and to function as this very, very important distribution hub, we're getting goods around the nation and around the globe from right here. So be really proud of what Amazon, DHL, FedEx, and some of the other distributors are doing. It's really important that we as legislators keep paying attention to this and bolstering the infrastructure that they need at CDG, our railways, our waterways, and especially our safe roads. We need to pay attention to all of this, and that was one of the reasons why I requested to be placed on the Transportation Committee. I work with a lot of our mayors, I work with all of our mayors, and I will tell you that one of the priorities is, it's right at the top, is roads. And so I just pay attention to all that we need in our communities by working really closely with not just our mayors, but our fiscal court. So, you know, and thanks to all of these business policies, getting back to that, Northern Kentucky is an economic engine for the state, but we don't always get the return on investment that we send to Frankfurt. We send a lot of taxpayer dollars to Frankfurt, and we have historically not always seen a great return. Well, that has changed, and I think we have the right leadership at the table to get that done. The last budget cycle, Representative Sal Santoro, who lost his election, but he was able to bring $1.3 billion to Northern Kentucky for, does everyone know, the bridge. We've talked about it for 30 years. It was something that we had worked on it forever. And so we are now able to fund a new bridge and without tolls. Yes, which is huge. And I will tell you that my friends in Louisville, my colleagues from Louisville, are not very happy that we don't have tolls because they have tolls on their bridge. So I hear about that a lot. We also were able to secure in this year's budget, and this was a budget year, we were able to secure $150 million for Northern Kentucky. That is a direct investment in our region. We are doing things like moving Chase Law School and the UK College, or NKU UK Partnership, College of Medicine to Covington. We are funding the Children's Home of Northern Kentucky. We are funding Holly Hill. So this is ensuring that kids and families who are in crisis are getting the mental health treatment that they need. We've also funded things like the Boys and Girls Club and Spark House, which is an innovation center to really generate new ideas for Northern Kentucky. And the last part of that investment, the last big part, is the old IRS property, the 23 acres in downtown Covington. This is all going to help fund the infrastructure, so utilities and sewer and water and all the things that we don't really see, but we have to pay for. So that's very exciting. Election integrity is something that we've worked hard on in the legislature. I sit on elections and constitutional amendments, and so this is a priority for me. We've really done a good job in tightening security around our elections and our voting. Kentucky now requires an ID to vote. And something that you will see on the ballot this year is a constitutional amendment, some legislation that we passed to put a constitutional amendment on the ballot, and so in November, when you go to vote, you will be voting to say whether or not you agree with changing our Constitution to require individuals to be a U.S. citizen to vote in Kentucky. It sounds like, just a very common sense. We kind of can't believe that it wasn't already part of our Constitution, but it isn't, and so we're just stipulating that in order to vote in Kentucky, you must be a U.S. citizen. I've also worked hard to protect freedoms. I was the primary co-sponsor on a bill to protect freedom of speech and due process in higher education. There were some things happening that parents didn't know about, and students weren't getting due process, and it was all part of the DEI provisions that universities are spending way too much money on, and we need to stop that. We passed a bill this year in the House, and it didn't get all the way through the Senate. So I understand the need for diversity and inclusion. Of course, we are kind to one another, we are respectful, but do we need entire systems at taxpayer expense to have a whole department to run something like this? So that's my problem with it. I was very instrumental in protecting women's sports. I worked with Riley Gaines and strongly supported legislation to keep biological males from participating in women's sports.
Amen.
It's really important, yeah. And on education and school choice, we've done a lot of work in the legislature. If you've been following over the last 8 years, we have passed legislation after legislation only to have the Supreme Court shoot it down. They say that it's all about our funding and the way that the Constitution is written, that the funding, public monies can only fund public schools. And so one more constitutional amendment will be on the ballot this year. And it had to come through as legislation, so I wasn't the primary co-sponsor, I was a co-sponsor on both bills. Of course, only one ended up moving through. They basically did the same thing. It put information on the ballot once again for us to the voters to have a voice in whether or not to allow school choice is basically it. Now, we would change the Constitution just to say that public monies can follow the child of the school. And yeah, I mean, it's important, and taxpayers should have a say in how and where they educate their kids. And that's, and it's not to say that we're not going to fund public schools. We absolutely will. It is an essential part of how we better our state, how we educate our children. So I am a huge supporter of school choice, but also our public schools. Since we've been in the majority, we have straightened out the pensions in Kentucky. You probably remember when Governor Bevin came in, that was one of his platforms to cut red tape and to bolster our pensions. The General Assembly, when it was under Democrat control, swept those funds that were intended to pay for the actuarial required contribution for our pensions into the general fund, and it never went to the pensions. And so they were greatly, all of the categories, the teachers, the law enforcement and first responders, our counties, all of the pensions were really, really underfunded. So a big part of our budget right now goes to paying off our pension obligations. We have to do it. We've got to honor the pensions and the retirements that we said that we were giving our state workers and our teachers and our law enforcement. I support law enforcement, I always have. I've worked closely, yes, thank you. And thank you so much for your support, Sheriff. Thanks to, I've always had the support from the FOP and the Kentucky State Police, because they know, and all of our first responders, our firefighters, they know that I understand how critical they are to public safety and just keeping our communities a livable and safe place. Also very important to me is keeping drugs like fentanyl from coming in across our borders and into our state, and we're seeing that more and more. I'm still very involved with the the Northern Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy Board, and we meet regularly and discuss all of the issues. Kentucky and Northern Kentucky has really made a lot of strides in the past 10 years in putting resources in place for those who are suffering from an addiction, but also mitigating the drugs that are coming in from outside of our borders. And part of that was the HIDA initiative, the high intensity drug trafficking area. And that was a big deal to get here. I worked hard with Mitch McConnell, our great senator, to do that. Healthcare, I could talk for hours, but I won't do that to you. About how I've worked to increase access to healthcare, quality healthcare. Last year, as Janine mentioned, I passed a bill that I didn't think was going to get through. It was called the Momnibus Bill, and it's all about maternal health and how do we support mothers and babies. We found out in the summer, I put together a work group. We found out through our research in working with the Kentucky Perinatal Quality Collaborative and various groups that pregnancy was not a qualifying life event for insurance coverage. Can you believe that? And so I changed that. Now moms can get care during their prenatal period when we know that's when we catch bad things. That's how we protect babies. That's how we protect moms. Kentucky has a very high maternal mortality rate. We are number 2 in the nation in deaths in the year following childbirth. It's on par with a third world country, and we needed to do something about it. So we did. And this was a bill that not only changed insurance for moms, but it added a lifeline for moms. It's a psychiatric access program. It expanded a home visitation program. It improves data collection so we can really have good oversight of what we're doing and knowing what's working and what isn't. So that's the really short version of a big bill. I routinely fight with insurance companies. It's not something that I want to do, but they know when I file a bill that I'm serious about it. And I will always point out the discrepancies in what they say they're going to cover and what they actually cover. That was part of the Mental Health Parity Act, making sure that if they say they are going to pay for mental health care, for example, that they do it on par with any other medical condition. And so, and that was a federal provision that had been worked on before Trump, but he expanded it when he was in office. And so I do work on a lot of mental health bills. I work on addiction standards of care and treatment. I work on early detection and treatment of cancer. Kentucky has a very high rate of cancer. And as Janine mentioned, I passed the Lung Cancer Screening Act, named for my mother, who died of lung cancer as well. And what we have done is move Kentucky from, I think we were in the 30s, to number 2 in the nation in early detection and treatment of lung cancer. It is making a huge difference. So I'm also always looking for efficiencies and streamlining systems of care. As I said, certificate of need has come up in Northern Kentucky because of St. Elizabeth, and I could do a whole seminar on it. Again, I won't bore you. But it's important to understand that I am looking for efficiencies and ways to really make it easier for a health agency to come into Kentucky if they want to. So, but I don't want to, I want to make sure that we don't duplicate services and drive up costs for everyone. So I'm getting the hook a little bit. So I'll skip over, I mean, if there are questions about CON, I'm happy to answer them. Strengthening foster care in Kentucky has been a priority for me. Again, back to taking care of children. We have an epidemic of children in out-of-home placement, let's just put it that way. And so we've increased support to families and to workers. Transportation, I talked a little bit about that, how we really need to pay attention to our infrastructure to grow businesses and economic development here. As you can see, I really enjoy learning and bringing sound policies to Kentucky. The best way to do that is to work with others, to build relationships. And you've got to do that to be effective. You have to discuss and learn from others, you've got to bring experts into your stakeholder group to really do that. It is an honor to be in the position to help my constituents, and I just feel like I've been called to really help and offer whatever expertise I might have, whether it's, I do often say that my superpower is knowing who the smart people are and bringing folks into conversations that we need to really get sound policy. And sometimes that means getting government out of the way. And I don't mind doing that either. So again, I'm deeply honored to serve as your thoughtful voice and voice of reason in Frankfort. I hope to continue doing that. I thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today, and I would be honored to have your support on May 21st. Thank you.
We're going to take a short break. You can write your questions on these cards, and then we'll ask your questions in a little bit. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful job, Kim Moser, State Representative, the Optimists Club. April the 24th, 12:47 p.m. here at Pee Wee's Restaurant, Crescent Springs, Kentucky. Thanks to TPNK for all the work that they do and help us put this together. Be sure and say hello to my friend Jason if you see him, and all the other folks.
We'll let Jared Moser input that.
Quite a few questions here, and I hear that I have 10 minutes. So I will start with something I got a little bit earlier. Why is our infant death rate so high? It is largely due to the drug epidemic that we have in Kentucky. About 53% of the women who die in the first year after childbirth are dying because they're getting insufficient treatment. And so that's one of the provisions that my maternal health bill put in place. We talked about remote patient monitoring and in-home patient addiction treatment, in addition to other things. Postpartum depression, we have a high suicide rate for moms in that first year if they don't get the support that they need. So we have addressed just about all that we felt that we could really get passed in one bill. Are there government agencies that can provide grants or other funding to help us develop our Optimists in Art project and a network of art teachers in Northern Kentucky? I think you're doing a great job in reaching out to the schools and creating those partnerships that I talked about being so important. I can think of a lot of parties who might be interested in helping. The Boys and Girls Club. I think that you're right in partnering with schools. I would just look for those partnerships in the community, and I'm happy to talk about it offline. I think that it's a very valuable project to get involved with, especially because there's so much screen time. Kids have so much screen time right now. So to get back get them back into that creative thinking and creative using their left brain, I think is critical. So medical cannabis rules. So Janine mentioned when she introduced me that I passed a law to implement the Cannabis Research Center. And so that's really been my focus on the cannabis use. I want to make sure that we get it right. If we, as legislators, are being asked to approve a medication, which is what we were asked to do, we need research to back that up. And that was what I put in place. Now, the bill that we passed last year to allow for medical marijuana had a lot of regulations, but we had to come back this year and tighten those up just to make sure that there was not abuse or smoking of marijuana, use of marijuana in schools, that kind of thing. So I know that I've met with the mayors in our region to talk about the implementation of this. What is this going to look like? How, what does zoning need to be around this? There are a lot of questions. It's really complicated. there are, you know, the regs are still being written, and it won't be implemented, those regs won't be written, at least until probably the fall. So this is not meant to be implemented until January of 2025, so we've got some time. But yeah, I'm happy to meet with you and talk to you. I can get more details about what that looks like. And I've talked to Shirley and Ruddy and PDS, and we're all trying to get on the same page so that we don't have different rules in different cities. That would be really difficult. Okay, I touched on House Bill 470 and the transgender bill that we talked about, puberty blockers in young children under 18 years old. Janine asks a question about the negatives and the positives. I think that a lot more information is coming out that this is not a good thing for young children, and that we do need to wait. And the medical community is behind this. They are paying attention to research and what's happened in other countries, and so I think it's appropriate to say we need to wait. We need to wait for surgery, and we need to wait for any sort of permanent, potentially permanent cross-sex hormones, and just give the kids who are suffering with gender dysphoria the treatment that they need so that they have a chance to outgrow this. 90% of kids outgrow this. This is not something that we need to rush into. We just need to give them time and listen, work with their parents. I mean, this is a parents' rights issue as well. We need to work with their parents and make sure that they're getting accurate information. I think that answers all the questions. Where does Kentucky stand on this medical issue? That's exactly what we did. Okay, certificate of need question. When will you allow proposed legislation to advance out of committee for a vote that will allow competition between hospitals in Northern Kentucky and allow or lessen the regulations that require onerous rules about rules that keep hospitals from being competitive, I think. Okay. First of all, I had a hearing for the bill that came through, and let me just back up. We have a certificate of need task force. This task force worked all through the interim last year, and it's all made up of legislators, and they hear testimony from both sides, of, you know, pros and cons, and they ended up not coming forward with any recommendations at all, except to continue the task force because it is so complex. And states who are rolling back these regulations, I have to say, are finding that their rural hospitals are really being decimated, and they're re-implementing some of the rules. Not all, but it's a complex system. So when will I allow a bill to advance? It's not up to me. It's up to my members to do their research, to get up to speed, to listen to folks. It's up to leadership about whether or not a bill advances out of, you know, once it's out of my committee to the floor. I don't have any say in that. I also can't do the work of the members who file bills. The bills that were filed this year were premature. We were not ready for them because there were not any recommendations that came out of the task force. And that was really why we all kind of pressed the pause button to say, let's get more clarity on this. Let's find out how to do this in a coordinated effort. We can't just piecemeal this. It will damage our healthcare system. It will create duplication of services, and the rural hospitals are really who are going to suffer. The rural hospitals and the charity hospitals. Right now, and this has all come up in Northern Kentucky because of St. Elizabeth, and I'm happy to give a little bit of background. I won't take all of my time, but Northern Kentucky had Christ Hospital, UC, and Jewish Hospital were here. They owned St. Luke Hospitals in Florence and Fort Thomas. I don't know if you all know that. They operated under the Health Alliance. And they, as they realized how difficult it was to run a full-service hospital, they started shipping patients, Northern Kentucky patients, over to Cincinnati, to their hospitals there, we're not making the investments here in northern Kentucky, and those hospitals were about to go through. St. Elizabeth didn't have to, but they bought those hospitals not to create some sort of monopoly, but to make sure that there was still a hospital presence in Florence and Fort Thomas. Otherwise, you know, we wouldn't have a hospital in those areas. So that's just the history of what happened with Christ and UC and Jewish being here. They gave up their CON. I don't know exactly why. I wasn't part of it. I'm not part of St. Elizabeth. So I don't have the, you know, the inside scoop on why that happened. But I do know that St. Elizabeth has about 60% of the market share in healthcare. So that means nearly half of northern Kentuckians are going across the river or elsewhere for their healthcare. So we do have a choice. We do have competition. And the last thing I'll say, without really getting into all the different pay forms that we have, but healthcare is not a free market enterprise. It's not like going to the corner store. You can't just go and pay for your x-ray. We have Medicaid, Medicare, insurance, negotiated rates. We have fee-for-service. We have 340B. I could go on and on. I know all about all of those systems, and it creates a very unlevel playing field. So right now, rural hospitals are reimbursed at about 60% on the dollar for their services. And those are, you know, rural and charity hospitals. If those hospitals have competition from someone who is simply coming in to set up like an imaging center or a high-profit surgery center, they will go under because they can't make ends meet. Either that or taxpayers will have to make up the difference. And I don't think anyone here wants to do that. So this is a system that protects charity care. We can look for efficiencies, and we can streamline things and make it easier for folks who want to come in from out of town or, you know, outside agencies to set up shop. That's fine, but not many agencies are looking to come in and set up a full service hospital. So,
One more question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, one more question. Okay. All right. If you've already heard about school choice, we just paid our income taxes. Can I talk about taxes? So in Kentucky, we are working on tax reform. We have reduced our personal income taxes, well, corporate and income tax or personal, back in 2018, I believe, was the first time we did this. Maybe it happened in 19. We went from a 6%, you know, regular tax to a 5% flat tax. And ever since then, we have passed legislation to set a trigger if we meet certain revenue metrics, markers, to allow us to decrease the personal income tax by 0.5%. We are currently down to 4% personal income tax in Kentucky, with the goal being 0. We have had to, we haven't increased sales tax, but we've broadened it to services, thinking that we can capture tourism dollars and that sort of thing. So that's what we're doing on taxes this year. Because we're being so careful to make sure that we're hitting those revenue markers, we were not able to reduce it another half a percent, which would have happened next year to 3.5%, because we didn't meet the revenue markers. And so until, you know, we're just giving our state time to generate enough revenue to offset any sort of tax reduction, just so we don't get ourselves in trouble. So. Okay, well,
One minute for closing remarks.
Okay, all right. Well, I just really appreciate all of the attention that you all pay to these issues. I appreciate the questions because it helps me really think through what's important to you, how can we work on this. All of the initiatives that I talked about today are something that we can meet in the middle. It's not, I mean, a lot of times there are times to really plant your heels firmly in your principles 100%. But sometimes, we have to work with others to make something work realistically. And, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be that voice of reason and common sense in Frankfurt. So, thank you all so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today.
Get some pictures.
Okay.
Press releases. Are there any more, old business or new business to discuss? I'd like to have a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. All in favor? Any against? We're gonna adjourn. Time for all this stuff.
And I should have answered John's question. Yes, I'm ready.
Ready for chief. Good.
So Sheriff, can we get your picture and Janine's picture and Jared? Jerry's gonna give the picture too.
What? Here's your bill if you want.
Yeah, it fit you with bumpers.
All right, should we get on either side?
That appointment's not for her.
Let's get one of the guys on each side and.
Did you take any lump dinners or anything?
Oh, thank you.
Sheriff, can you get on the left side? Sheriff, can you get on the left side? Jared.
Okay.
No, they're all right. They worry more about plotting than like a young kid.
What do you want? Do you want him on the other
I
side?
want one of the guys on the opposite side. Sheriff, can
Okay,
you
he
get on the
wants
left
to
side?
use the opposite.
Jerry.
Oh, that's right.
It's minor, but nonetheless.
There you go. We got it. That's perfect. Now, Sheriff, you can come over.
Where did you hit?
Come over, give her a hug.
Right there? Okay.
That's where the bulk of it is. I don't like to do
That's
But you
perfect.
didn't break any bone. Good.
I
that. I
like
tried to break my fall too, because I remember stepping out with the left leg.
Yeah?
Wound up
My camera.
hitting my knee. Anyway.
Camera's on this side. Okay.
You'll find me.
It's like
I hope everything goes well.
Thank you. This was,
I'll give it to her. I'll
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
I mean, they're all freebies, but nonetheless, some of them are pretty good. I like them.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, guys.
One at a funeral about 6 months ago out in Florence
Yeah.
that I did the service on being a deacon.
Yeah.
Kim Moser,
I love it.
I'll get
him.
I like the UC shirt.
election May the
I
21st.
got my associate degree from there.
Yeah.
Bachelor's from Thomas More and
Okay.
master's from a school down in Greensboro, because we were living down there.
Yeah, I got an associate's first and
How
then
you doing?
bachelor's from the same university, Northeastern in Boston.
Yeah, we're ready.
Well, I had about a 5-year hiatus between,
Yeah.
and a 10-year between the bachelor's and the master's. Because I've done it all at night, except for 2 years. I did get 2 years to UC and then.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you get hot, they're very hot.
Let's see if you can get both of us in there.
I had my phone.
Well, I tell you what,
Fall off and they'd say, what are you looking for? I said, "There's
life
my highlights."
has many travels. And having spent the previous 30 days, just this last month in the hospital, coming home, having another fall, taking a nosedive into the cedar chest.
You need to stop doing that.
I need to stop doing that. But they did do a CAT scan on my brain down in the emergency room, and
And
I
you
got,
still have one?
I got
That's
the.
good.
In fact, I looked at it and it was all clear, and I said, well, is this the CAT scan? They said, yes. I said, well, I guess it's the truth. There's nothing in there in the brain.
I don't believe it. All right.
But anyway, we had fun. Now, why am I here today? My wife says, John, you're not supposed to be up and moving around. And I said, well, Kim Moser's gonna be speaking at the Optimists Club, which I belong to. And I said, I have just got to be there and film this because she is a superb legislator. Now, I'm speaking with a little bit of experience here. I mean, I was Commissioner of Motor Vehicles for the state of Kentucky. I was superintendent of education for the state of Kentucky, the last elected one. And I spent 3 years with Congressman John Breckinridge, and there goes Janine walking by, who's my great friend. And what did I learn through doing all of that? I learned a great deal from her father, who was Secretary of Transportation for all of Kentucky. But most of all, he was my doctor for many years. It just so happens her husband, who is right now, I'd say the smartest move she ever made was Neil Moser. Because the smartest move I ever made was June Diamond Stephenson. And she knows that's true too. But now, the smartest move Neil Moser ever made was Kim Moser. Kim Poore Moser. And the people out there voting all across northern Kentucky and her district. She happens to be my representative in my district. And so I can say this, she has done a superb job, excellent job, from the business of learning all the issues and studying them and getting the contacts about them from all the sources possible before she activates on things. That's what a legislator is. It's a true legislator for the people. She represents the people of her district and of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Now, I've got a little niece that's running too.
Thank you, John.
Now, I'm not asking for endorsements in this interview, but I am saying she's a very smart young lady, and she called her Uncle John.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough race.
That's a
We've got
tough
two-
race.
We've got two really good candidates.
There are
but,
two
yeah.
candidates in the Republican Party running, but she happens to be my niece, and her name's Julie Jaddock. She happens to be the daughter of my sister, Mary Ruth Robinson Stephenson, who's still at 87, the greeter at Walmart in Carrollton, singing songs to everybody that comes in there
Oh my gosh.
to the place. So I just have to do this. Everybody loves somebody sometime. Makes no difference when or where or how. Everybody loves somebody sometime, and it's Kim Moser's time, Kim Poore Moser's time, right now. Go vote May the 21st in the primary, and vote for Kim Moser. And if you want to vote for my little niece, that's a good job too. Julie Jaddock. God bless you and have a great day, and great to have you at the Optimist Club
Thank
today.
you. It's great to be here.
Here. Charlie Johnson, bless his heart. Now, he was a better student than me,
Okay.
but I sang all the time, didn't I, Charlie?
And you distracted everyone?
I distracted everyone. Charlie Johnson right here, graduate Simon Kenton, 1961. And great to be here at Pee Wee's Restaurant. Get him a vote or two and sings a prayer or two and just having a good time. Kim Moser, bless her heart, state representative, and she happens to be my state representative where I live in Independence, right down from the courthouse. Amen. Pee Wee's Place, 341-4977. Travels with Dr. John Stephenson on YouTube and Facebook, 859-750-0000. Email address, small j, small s, 750-0000 @gmail.com. www.begottensson.com. www.godsbiz.com. and www.jstevenson.com. That was 213 Beechwood Road, which June and I built that little stone cottage with the help of her uncles building the fireplace out of stones, and Roger Evans and Bruce Reams, and just a lot of other friends helping out. And back here, right there, you see the little red trees there. Boy, oh boy. I tell you what, that was a beautiful home we built there. 127 Seville Court, coming right up on it. .127 Seville. Go down here and turn around. A lot of beautiful homes here. And the Lord's blessed me with living in 3 beautiful homes, and actually where we live right now is beautiful too. But it's small and it's old, but it's good. Got a full basement underneath there. Beautiful place. Beautiful trees that June and I planted. Where we were married, right there in front of the doors there. Now I'm going to go back around over here. House behind us. Times change and people change. The backyard, which June came around the corner of the house, and I saw her and tripped over the stool and walked right into the volleyball net, and said, got up off the ground and said, "What would you like to do?" And she said, "Take a walk." And I said, announced to everybody, "Well, we're leaving, we're going to take a walk." Now I'm going to figure out how to get turned around here if I can. Took a little work, but I got it done. That's a little beautiful home there. 127 Seville Court. Used to have my jacuzzi right outside there. 2-car garage. Young lady, can I ask you a question? I built this house across the street.
That one?
No, this one over here.
Oh,
127 Seville Court.
that one or that one?
That one right behind me.
Oh,
There.
yeah.
I built that one back many years ago.
Oh,
My
wow.
wife and I lived there, and then we built another one, a little stone house up on the hillside there, right down on Beechwood Road there.
Oh, okay.
A little stone house with a cross in the gable. I put all that in there.
Oh, wow.
And now, are you a Schacter?
No.
Oh, I better turn this off then. Now, I just happened to be driving around here, looking at the old house we built at 127 Seville Court, which is still beautiful, and the one down on 213 Beechwood Road, which always touched my heart with the fireplace in there with the 10 Commandments plaques in the fireplace, representing the 10 Commandments, and the cross in the gable. And this young lady lives here now where the Slachters used to live. Now, are you married? Are you by any chance?
I am.
And it's you and your husband that own it then?
Yes.
Well, fantastic. And your name is?
Liz.
Liz, and your last name is?
Hart.
Liz Hart. Well, it's John Stephenson here. You got my card. If I never help in any way, call me.
Will do.
And but it's so nice to meet somebody still living on a street that I loved from the bottom of my heart. I loved the people here. My wife loved it here. And this is where we were married, standing right there, and went on our honeymoon from here to 8 countries in Europe.
That's
and
fantastic.
filmed it all. And she also went with me before she married me. In 1987, we weren't married. She went with me and we filmed the history of all 120 counties in Kentucky on location, 42,000 miles of driving. And you can see all of that on my card there. It says John Stephenson.
All right.
And you go to Travels with Dr. John Stephenson
Okay.
on YouTube, and you can see all my videos and movies, including this little interview I'm doing right here. And you can see the houses that I built, and you can see our trip through Europe by train and other places. So God bless you and take care.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Nice
Have a
to
good
meet
day.
you too. I'm thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. That's where Dr. Smith lives there. Dwayne Smith. My little stone house is right back behind those houses. Virginia's Tortoise's house was right there where this huge house is right now. Beautiful multi-million-dollar house right there. Beautiful. Beautiful right here now on Beechwood Road. Let's see if I can get the little in the stone caption. That is right there, 213 Beechwood Road, diamond and a fish, Jesus Fish, Stephenson. 3194 it looks like. Jesus said to them, the stone the builders rejected, the Lord has done this. Matthew 23:42 it looks like. Jesus said to them, "The stone the builders rejected has become the capstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes." Well, let's see. Senator Jack Williams, Jay Williams there. And he was a daggone good senator, too.
How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. I got caught in the traffic here and had to come down this way to get back out.
Yeah, you're going the wrong way.
I know. I was trying to figure out which way to go. I was blocked in both ways. I tell you.
For a meeting?
Huh?
Are you here for a meeting?
No. I just was. I was trying to get. The traffic was blocked, and I was trying to figure out now how do I get out.
Oh, so you're trying to leave?
I was trying to leave, and I saw you two sitting up there, and I said, I can't believe I just left Kim Moser and a couple other politicians, and I come over here to the school, and there's Jax Williams, my great friend.
Yeah.
And
I think you still think you're the school commissioner.
I think I still am the superintendent of education. The last elected, and I used to substitute teach here. And Gil Hammond taught here for 10 years. And so did my sister, taught here, her first job. And so I'm going to try to sneak down here and see if I can sneak back out into the traffic and head on to the barber shop.
Turn right, you'll be able to get out.
Go right. Okay, I'll turn around here and head back and go right. Checks. Take care, Jay.
Okay, thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Yeah.
One of our best senators in Kentucky right there. Beechwood High School. Praise the Lord. Take care, Jay.
See you later, big guy.
The cross and the gable. Beautiful.
Get on that show?
On the screen, the Bible says this. John chapter 1.
He's on there.
Oh,
do I there? Yeah.
That's Jesus Christ.
Get on there, not with my show, but I'm on there all the time.
Jesus gave the right to become children
I film all these sermons
How do I become a child of God?
while I'm
How do
driving,
I get in God's family?
and I always
How do I
know
know
somebody's
for certain
down
that
and
I'm
out,
going to
send
heaven
them
when I
over.
die? How do I
Yeah.
make sure I'm on the in crowd, not the out crowd?
They got a family of
I
4.
want to be a child
They
of
get
God.
70 pounds of food.
It says two things, two verses.
Mercy.
Receive and believe. To all who received him, to those who
But
believe in his
what
name, Jesus
the
gave
good
the right
part,
to become
the
God's
healthy
children.
part, if you can get apples
I
and fruit,
believe he is
you know what I
God.
mean?
Yeah.
They had cabbage over here last night. It was bigger than
I believe he is
bowling
God.
balls. I've never seen
And I
cabbage that
receive
big.
him as my
They
Lord.
made cabbage soup out of it.
Most, if not all of us, have done the second part. You have believed in Jesus Christ. You believe he historically existed. You accept the fact that he died on the cross. He rose again. Congratulations, you're halfway there. You now need to receive him as the Lord of your life. And you need to do the TRUST with him today.
This is terrible.
If you're ready to have your life changed, this one's going to do it. It's going to seal your eternal destiny. It's going to change your life from here on out, because you're not going to live for yourself anymore. Would you pray this simple prayer in your heart? You don't have to say it aloud. God knows your thoughts. He knows what you're thinking. And it doesn't even matter the words, but as I pray these words, you can just say, me too, me too, Jesus. And say, dear Jesus, you have promised that if I believe in you, everything I've ever done wrong will be forgiven. And Jesus, you have promised that if I believe in you, I will learn the purpose of my life. And you have promised that if I believe in you, I will get strength and power for daily living. eternal home in heaven one day. I want to have a real faith in you, not a fake faith, not a phony faith. I want to be a true believer, not a partial believer. I want to believe and I want to receive you. So today, I confess, pray this in your heart, I confess, I believe that you are God, and I receive you into my life as my Lord.
Okay, John.